Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Tuesday. It's going up for the next 3 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, on your mobile device on the MSC radio app, and on YouTube on our channel 580 Sports Talk. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning into the program today, thank you so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in the 4 o'clock hour as usual. 3 hours of sports talk today ahead of Royals baseball. We'll hand it off to the Royals radio network at 6 o'clock tonight. 6:40, the scheduled first pitch in the Twin Cities as the Royals open a 3-game series against the Minnesota Twins. Seth Lugo on the mound for Kansas City tonight against Minnesota's Taj Bradley. Again, 6:40 first pitch, 6 o'clock pregame from the Royals Radio Network right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. In the intervening 3 hours that we have together, we have much to discuss, including, well, the eyes of the basketball world on Charles Koch Arena in Wichita last night, but unfortunately not only because of the exciting on-court basketball action in the TBT between JHX Hoops and Aftershocks, an ugly brawl at the end of the night, the third such fracas of the evening. It resulted in a significant facial injury to a Jayhawks Hoops staffer, a cut on the head of Jayhawks Hoops player and Washburn Ichabod great Jacob Hanna, and a whole lot of finger pointing and a whole lot of angry people and a whole lot of talk I saw on social media about, why do we even play this thing anyway? This is ridiculous. And while last night's brawl was obviously a bad look, and there are a lot of converging factors that created the conditions for what good friend and former 580 Sports Talk intern Trenton Kraxner referred to in a text earlier today that I saw as the kerfluffle at Coke. I also saw ruckus at the Roundhouse, but I think I like kerfluffle at the Coke or kerfluffle at Coke better, personally. That's just me. That's better than anything I came up with. So there were all kinds of things that converged to set the table for that to happen at the end of that game. But if anything, this doesn't prove why the TBT is a bad idea. This is lame. This is stupid. This is ridiculous. This thing's got to go away. No, I would argue that everything you saw on display last night at the Roundhouse on Hillside is exactly why the TBT exists. You don't condone the fighting, obviously, but everything other than that, including some of the things that led to that, are why the TBT actually kind of a fun little thing in the summer, and certainly has carved out a place in the sports landscape of this state in a way that has been really unique and kind of special, and unfortunately tainted by last night's big brawl there in Wichita. But I'm going to talk all about that because it was all over social media. If I don't know if you went to bed early and you woke up and you heard about it, you stayed up to watch the game. The game itself, they're not going to send the tape to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame and Museum. Let's just say that. It was not it's not exemplary basketball, but it was dramatic, as those Elam endings tend to be. And Jayhawks Hoops won. And there's an offshoot of that that could be really, really exciting for those of us here in the capital city if Jayhawks Hoops can win one more game tomorrow night in Lexington. So we'll get into all of that, the pleasant and unfortunately the unpleasant from last night's TBT action. We're going to talk some Chiefs. It's intake day in St. Joe. So no practice, no media availability, but the boys, all the boys, are back in town and ready to go at Missouri Western State University for training camp to really begin in earnest after some pre-orientation quarterback and rookie workouts the last couple of days. We're going to talk about which players are under the most pressure in training camp. And there are a lot of ways to answer that question. There are some really obvious ways, and there are some less obvious ways, I think, to answer that question. And pressure is created in different ways by different situations. And there are some guys who are under pressure for big roles on the 2026 Chiefs, and there are some guys who are under pressure just to have any kind of role at all. So we're going to talk about who's got the most to prove, who's under the most pressure once Chiefs camp really hits the ground running tomorrow. And for those curious, yes, training camp begins tomorrow. That means our daily chats with the voice of the Chiefs, our training camp reports with the great Mitch Holtis, are not far away. Next Monday, August 3rd, will be the first of our training camp reports, and Mitch will be with us all through the month of August, giving us the skinny from Chiefs training camp. We'll talk some baseball today as well. We're less than a week now from the Major League Baseball trade deadline, and I'll tell you why the Royals should be leveraging the fact that they are one of just a handful of teams that knows no matter what happens in the next 3 to 5 days worth of games that they are sellers. Not a lot of teams believe that wholeheartedly about themselves on July 28th. And those who do should take advantage of that. And I'll talk about a way that nobody's really talking about that I think the Royals should leverage to take advantage of that. We've got a guest today to join us is Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Michael Swain will join us for Jayhawk Weekly. We'll get his thoughts on JHX Hoops and their run now to the Alumni Bracket Championship game of the TBT. We'll also get his take on Melvin Council's lawsuit filed over the weekend in court in Douglas County, trying to get one more year of eligibility, which Kansas has a roster spot available, and I'm sure would like to have him back. So we'll get into that, some football stuff with training camp for KU still a couple of weeks away. Michael Swain, Fog.net, 24/7 Sports, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. And plenty more fun to have on this Tuesday, including another round of What Is Wrong With You. We'll have our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll do Random Question Tuesday as well. Plus, your interaction with the program. I want to hear from you today. The text line is open, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us on the text line. The text line is 785-272-9429. I just told you the text line. I'm talking about the YouTube chat. That's what I was trying to draw your attention to. If you're watching the program on our YouTube channel today, 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. Go subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Doesn't cost you anything but a click or the tap of a screen. And if you're watching us live on YouTube, there is a chat feature that you can hop into and say hello. Interact with your fellow listeners and your hosts and grow the 580 Sports Talk community. See Vance, Mark H., Andrew in the chat today. Paul is in. Mr. KU Jayhawk, welcome to the chat. Good to see you. Brendan's in. Always good to see an old friend. Appreciate those of you who are in today. Look forward to hearing from more of you as we go along on 580 Sports Talk this afternoon. But we begin with the kerfluffle Coke. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but I like it. It's one of those maybe that looks better on paper than it does saying it out loud, but I like it. It's the best of the names I saw. It was better than anything I came up with. Again, hat tip to our guy Trenton Craxner, colleague. Trenton Craxner. We're all part of the MSC radio family now. He's working up north for the same company. So yes, colleague, former 580 Sports Talk intern, Trenton Craxner coming up with that one. So, in case you missed it, and if you have social media of any kind, I don't think you did, but just in case. JHX Hoops played the Aftershocks in the TBT Alumni Bracket semifinal at Koch Arena last night. There were 7,000 plus in the building, which is about standard for TBT games at Coke. I think the championship game last year, which the Aftershocks won, it might have been a sellout. They drew at least 9,000 for the championship game last year. And a spirited affair was marred first by a brawl or a bench clearing incident, let's call it. Late in the first half, Rashard Kelly got tangled up with Mario Chalmers and shoved the former NBA champion to the ground. That obviously was not looked upon kindly by the Kansas bench, which was right there on that side of the floor. They rushed to Chalmers' aid. And Chalmers, the old guy out there, I appreciated that. You know, look out for Unc. Look out for your elders, the old guy on the roster. So they went to his aid. Aftershocks players whose bench was on the opposite side of the court came scrambling across the court to try and get involved. It was a whole thing. And at the end of it, the officials decided to eject, I think, 4 or 5 players from each team. It was easier at the end to figure out who hadn't been ejected because they stayed in the game or on the bench. But each team was down to 6 players for the waning seconds of the first half and the entire second half. So that happened. There was another bit of posturing and pushing and shoving and who you calling a so-and-so back and forth in the third quarter. And then a tight game all the way came down to the Elam ending. And Frank Mason, as he had done in the previous 2 victories for JHX Hoops in this tournament, made the game-winning shot. Hit a logo 3 right on Wushak's neck, right through Wushak's neck, a dagger to the hearts of those Shocker fans at Charles Koch Arena. And JHX Hoops won the game. And in the course of the celebration, which was very exuberant, Marcus Keene, the star of the Aftershocks, last year's TBT MVP, shoved JHX Hoops player Jacob Hanna, the former Washburn Ichabod. And then it looked like Zeke Mayo went to Hanna's aid, and Mayo then got into it with a couple of the Aftershocks players in front of the scorer's table. Hanna was in the vicinity and then got blindsided by Keene a second time, colliding, unfortunately, with a staff member for JHX Hoops, who, in the process, suffered an open fracture of her nose, several nasal fractures. She's going to have to see a cosmetic surgeon to put her face back together. And all she did was be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Entirely not her fault, despite what Aftershocks player Marcus McDuffie suggested and then quickly unsuggested by deleting his post on X. Anyway, Keene went after Hanna again, then went after him a third time. Hanna went sliding across the court, got a cut on his head, and the violence, such as it was, spilled into the corner, same corner where the initial fracas in the first half had occurred. There was a fan who got involved. A couple of fans took swipes at Billy Preston. Preston, and I don't blame him one bit for this, swiped back at those fans before being restrained and led back to the locker room. And that's about where it ended. It all happened, like I'm describing it all. It took me longer to describe than it did for all of it to really unfold. But obviously a very ugly scene, and somebody who had nothing to do with anything was seriously injured, and a very unpleasant end to what had been an exciting night of basketball. And 6 factors converge that set the table for something like that to happen. First thing is, it's the TBT. It's not the NBA. It's not even high-level NCAA basketball. You've got officials in way over their heads and cannot get control of the game, cannot get control of the players. No authority on the court for those officials. So that's number one. Number 2, not a lot of authority on the benches either. With all due respect to Sharon Collins and Zach Bush, both of whom I think are, I know Sharon Collins is the head high school basketball coach. I think Zach Bush is too. He might be coaching down at Goddard Eisenhower, but high school basketball coach. All due respect to those guys don't really have any authority on that bench for guys who, might be older than them, might have had more accomplished professional basketball careers than them. Just not a lot of authority. So the coaches aren't really going to keep anybody in check either. So not a lot of authority on the court between the officials and the coaches. The third thing that converges here, total lack of consequences. You aren't going to get fined. You aren't going to get suspended, miss game checks. You don't have to play those guys again later in the season and maybe have to be on your toes for a hard foul. No, it's a one-off, and you might never see that guy again. Marcus Keene, he's only ever going to see Jacob Hanna again in his nightmares because Hanna had him in a seatbelt the entire night. What's it cost Marcus Keene to go run up on Jacob Hanna? Lack of consequences. Fourth factor, big feelings. That's what Miss Rachel calls them. Miss Rachel's big in the Lucero household. Big in any household with a 2-year-old. Big feelings on that court. You got a whole lot of prideful guys for whom the instinct is, oh, you're not going to punk me. And again, nobody to get in their way and make them understand, hey, buddy, this isn't really about you. Fifth factor, big stakes. It's why the TBT is what it is, why it's lasted as long as it has, why guys of the stature of Mario Chalmers want to come play in this. $2 million goes a long way, even 10 ways. And not just the reason that the event has lasted as long as it has, but the reason 7,000 plus were at Coke Arena last night. And then the sixth factor, and Sharon Collins, they canceled the post-game media availability, which I thought was weak. They should not have done that. But Sharon Collins spoke with somebody. And I'm trying to remember, I think it was Taylor Eldridge's article in the Wichita Eagle where I saw Sharon Collins quoted. And Sharon Collins was right about this. The Elam ending creates a scenario where every one of those games ends on a walk-off, effectively. Every game, you win on a made basket. You're not dribbling the clock out. You're not, making your free throws, and everybody's got time to kind of catch their breath there in the final minute. It is heated and competitive until somebody hits that winning score, and then it's over. And the effect is like hitting a walk-off home run to win a baseball game, or scoring a walk-off touchdown in sudden death football overtime. Sometimes the endings to TBT games can be pretty anticlimactic if the game is a blowout. I've seen games end on a free throw. That's kind of lame, but it happens. But when a game ends on a walk-off across any level of any sport, you know what happens? The winning team goes nuts. That's sports. I don't blame Jayhawks Hoops for being excited. That's why you compete. I don't blame them for getting hyped. I don't blame them for waving goodbye to the hostile visiting environment. See that at every level of sports. And if you lose in that scenario, you have to be equipped to handle seeing guys being excited to beat you. That's why you don't see the pitcher gives up a walk-off home run, go tackle the guy that hit it off of him between second base and third base. Right? You have to be equipped to handle guys being excited to have beaten you. Clearly, Marcus Keene was not. Clearly, some of those Wichita State fans who I think took that loss probably as hard as any Wichita State loss in recent memory. Certainly harder than any Wichita State loss since they got bounced from the tournament by Marshall in 2018. Those fans were not equipped to handle that. This is how sports work. The winning team gets to celebrate. You get to deal with it. Let them get it out of their system. High-five the friendlies. Maybe wave goodbye. Celebrate with, let's be honest, there was not 7,000 people exclusively in black and gold last night. There were a lot of KU fans there, too. Celebrate with the fans, maybe with their families. Like Jacob Hanna's from Wichita. He had family there last night. Zeke Mayo's from Lawrence. You think he had some family there last night? There were plenty of KU friendlies in that crowd at Coke Arena last night. Let them celebrate, get it out of their system, and then go shake their hands. Or don't. That's fine, too. I don't care if you shake somebody's hand after they beat you. Nobody makes you. This isn't Little League. You can't handle it? You don't want to go see him celebrate? Get your butt in the locker room. Go cry about it there. What little man Marcus Keene did really ought to have him permabanned from playing in the TBT ever again. He made his own little man complex everyone else's problem. And I realize there's some rich irony here in me referring to Marcus Keene as having a little man complex. But I'm going to tell you, I'm listed at 5'10". Keene's listed at 5'9", which means I'm taller than he is. So I get to pull the card. And that was a little man complex for Marcus Keene, if ever I have seen one. And he made his complex everyone else's problem when he cheap shotted Jacob Hanna, not once, not twice, but thrice, and broke a woman's face in the process. So there is nobody to blame here but him. Let's be honest. There is no one to blame but Marcus Keene. The Jayhawks Hoops players responded as any other team responds when they win on a walk-off. It's like, you see a buzzer beater in the NBA. It's the same kind of reaction, or a buzzer beater in college basketball. It's the same kind of excited reaction. When you win on the final play, there is that reaction. And those reactions get you hyped, get you jumping off the couch. If you're a Jayhawks fan and you were invested in last night's game, that had you jumping off the couch last night. That's why we watch sports, right? We watch these things, we get involved with these things because they matter, even if it doesn't feel like it should. And the TBT is one of those things, if you're outside it, you probably roll your eyes at it a little bit. But it's been a fun summer diversion here in the state of Kansas, really since the Aftershocks got a team together for the first time back in 2019. Been a lot of extremely competitive games. It's a great way to remember some guys, express a little bit of pride in your alma mater. A way to kill the time during the summer. Maybe you're not a baseball person, or maybe your favorite baseball team is a bunch of games out of first place. It's a diversion. It's something else. It's something fun. And the Aftershocks in particular, and what makes last night a real shame, is that the Aftershocks and the crowds at Koch Arena in particular have been one of the best things, maybe the best thing, to happen to the TBT. They've darn near filled that arena. Won the tournament last year. They've been additive to that tournament. Surely they've inspired other alumni teams to up their game. If you're looking around and you've been a part of an alumni team at a Power Four, a blue blood program, you're saying, wait a minute, if Wichita State can do this, surely we can pull a team together that makes some noise in this thing and goes out, wins a cool $1 million, or in this year's case, $2 million. If the reporting from Taylor Eldridge at the Wichita Eagle is correct, and that might have been the last Aftershocks game anyway, that there had already been talk of breaking up the band, guys who've been a part of that, I think, since 2019, guys like Marcus McDuffie and Rashard Kelly, who's, again, foul in the first place, touched all these big feelings off, Connor Frankamp. If the reporting in the Eagle is true that this is it for the Aftershocks, what a bummer of a way for that to go out. Because the only way this event catches on is if it matters to people. And it matters in Wichita. It matters to that team, that alumni group, that fan base. And I think, even though they will deny it, and they will deny it most vociferously when and if their team gets eliminated on their way to the $2 million, I think it has mattered a little bit to K-State and KU fans, too. Maybe in a way they didn't even expect when the thing began. Because, again, it is a fun way to remember some guys and put on for your alma mater or your favorite team. And it's just a shame it came to that last night because it really didn't need to. But, again, no authority, big feelings, no consequences, and you get what you get. And that was what we got last night. I don't think that it's a black eye for the whole TBT or they should cancel the event. This is a waste of time. Yeah, you feel like it's a waste of time right now if you're a K-State fan because your team didn't win, or a Wichita State fan because your team didn't win. Yeah, all sports feel like a waste of time when your team doesn't win. No, man. One dude acted the fool. One dude got in his feelings, and it became everybody else's problem. And there wasn't any guardrail in place to keep his big feelings from ruining everybody's night. I want to get your reaction. If you were watching last night, if you have some reactions, 785-272-9429 is the number to text. You can also interact in the live chat on YouTube at 580 Sports Talk. I'll look forward to getting Michael Swain's reaction from the Jayhawks Hoops perspective. He'll join us for Jayhawk Weekly, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We'll talk some Chiefs. We'll talk some Royals. We'll do What Is Wrong With You. We got a jam-packed show today. Glad you're here on this Tuesday. It's 580 Sports Talk. .332 on 580 Sports Talk. We're just underway on this Tuesday afternoon. Great to be with you. Lots of great reaction to the kerfluffle at Coke. The ruckus at the Roundhouse. I had a texter refer to it as the roundhouses at the Roundhouse. The best I could do was they turned the Roundhouse into Roadhouse, which, you know, C+ at best. I expect better of myself. But the big brawl last night, the TBT action marred there at the end after JHX Hoops defeated Aftershocks. I want to start with something that I think we'd be talking about if Marcus Keene had not been Bozo the Century in the moments following the game. Paul in the YouTube chat, Jacob Hanna showing up and showing out against former D1 guys really makes that Washburn pride swell up just a little bit. We never doubted him for a second, but it's a good thing that he gets exposure like that. Yeah, Jacob Hanna is going to end up being a Kansas cult hero if KU goes on. If the JHX Hoops team wins this tournament, Jacob Hanna is going to be a Jayhawk cult hero despite never having played or been enrolled at the school. I think that's been one of the things that has been a common talking point throughout all of this is, well, wait a second, Jacob Hanna is really good. And Marcus Keene, who, by the way, I hesitate to say anything nice about the guy, but he did lead the nation in scoring as I think a senior, maybe a junior at Central Michigan. He averaged 30 a game. He was an MVP of this tournament last year. Dude is good. And Jacob Hanna had him in hell. Jacob Hanna had him in the 7th circle of hell last night. That's why it was worse. It wasn't just, Jacob Hanna, it was just the recipient of a guy being in his feelings. No, Marcus Keene was in his feelings because Jacob Hanna big boyed him, just dog walked him on defense for the extent of that basketball game. Tough look. And then you have the nerve to go on X, talk about it he's this and that. He fell down. He's a lame. I can't call him. I can't say the name that Marcus Keene did call him on social media. I haven't posted on X in over 2 years. I was about to reactivate my account, just call that dude a punk. I was in my feelings about it. You don't go after a Washburn-Ichabod great like that. Come on now. Brendan agrees in the live chat. I would take Jacob Hanna in a fair fight against anyone else in that building last night. Imagine trying to fight that dude. Get that bum Keene out of here. Amen to that. So, some other thoughts that we'll get to here as well. We know the text line from the 785. It's sad you have to cancel post-game interviews because one team couldn't handle losing. I understand emotions are high in this tournament, but if I were a Wichita State fan today, I'd be embarrassed like I was as a KU fan when they had the brawl at Allen Fieldhouse a few years ago. Another similar thought from another texter from the 785. As a parent, I would have been mad as hell if I would have had my kids there to watch a basketball game. Yes, that's part of it, right? You get off jokes about sports fights because generally speaking, they're not like real fights. It's a lot of posturing. It's a lot of come at me, bro. Hold me back. Somebody hold me back. Hey, will somebody hold me back so I look tough? It's a lot of that. So you get off your jokes. But that one was particularly nasty last night. Spilled over into the crowd, and the crowd got involved. And like I said, that fan who grabbed out at Billy Preston is lucky that he did not emerge from that any worse for wear. Because I think if you try to swing on a player while they're on the playing surface, you try to get at somebody at their job, whatever you get, you deserve. I think if Preston had knocked that dude's teeth out, he would have deserved it. And thankfully for that gentleman should feel very relieved that did not happen. But yes, it is. It is embarrassing. It is. It's a bummer that we're talking about that and not like the game, which, again, not the most beautiful game of basketball that has ever been played, but competitive, and Frank Mason did it again. Boy, that train has not been late for JHX Hoops. Every time they've needed Frank Mason, he has made the game-winning shot. He has not, I think, on balance, played really well in the tournament, but third and fourth quarter, he finds a way in the clutch moments to look like the 2017 National Player of the Year. And Zeke Mayo was terrific after an underwhelming, let's call it, start to his tournament. He's probably, since the second half of the game at Lee Arena against Purple Rain, he's probably been KU's best or second best player. He had 25 last night. And Jacob Hanna, again, terrific work on both ends of the floor. That's the stuff you should be talking about, and not this. But it is what it is. Emotions ran high, and I would like to think there would be some consequences for Keene. There's some reporting out there from a source who would know that Jacob Hanna and the JHX Hoops staffer who was injured are both likely to press charges against Marcus Keene. And the woman in particular absolutely should. Like, she faces a long recovery. She had an open fracture of her nose. Like, they got her bad, man. And she didn't deserve that. She was just there. If anything, she was probably trying to get Hanna away from trying to help get people cleared out and make sure things didn't spill over. And then Keene, gutless, takes a blindside shot at Hanna, and his shoulder caught that poor woman right and square in the face. Just really, really disappointing. From the Jayhawker in the live chat on YouTube, not surprised about last night. Wichita State players and fans have a massive inferiority complex. Now, I covered Wichita State. I lived there, did radio there, worked there, covered Wichita State basketball. One of the best times in their history. Like, coming off the Final Four, the year they went undefeated in the regular season, had the number 1 seed. Like those teams, right? The team that beat Kansas in the tournament the next year. To say that they have an inferiority complex is 100% correct. Yes, that is true. And that is part of why the emotions of last night's game ran high, because that was not, like, this was a bit of a proxy war. This is the game that they want and they never get. Wichita State playing Kansas at Koch Arena. They have wanted that game for years. And they don't get it, and they won't get it because, and we've talked about this, and I talked about it when I was on the radio in Wichita. People didn't like hearing about it. There's no upside for Kansas. For who? For what? What do they gain from playing a home and home against Wichita State? You gain nothing. If you win, you're supposed to. If you lose, it's a black eye. So why would they ever do it? It'll never happen. But it happened in this tournament. And that's, again, what stirred people up so much is this was beyond just an alumni game in a tournament that's played strictly for money. This was the proxy war. This was the chance to beat KU in Wichita, and they missed. Had their chances, and they missed their shot. And yeah, man, that stings. But what's wild is, like, Marcus Keene is not an alum. Marcus Keene wasn't on that team that lost to Kentucky. He wasn't on a team that lost to Marshall. He played Central Michigan. He's got charged up. He had that little man syndrome. The commentary on YouTube also coming up with some good names for what happened last night. Vance in with the Sedgwick County Smackdown. Christopher, the fallout on Fairmount. Vance with the clash at Koch. Christopher with the tumult on 21st. Paul with the calamity on Kellogg, since that's the only street on Wichita he knows. Christopher also with the Old Town overreaction and riot at the Roundhouse. Brendan with the Arkansas River altercation. I'll get that right off the rip someday. The Sedgwick County skirmish from Brendan. Riot at the Roundhouse from Christopher. Fracas on Fairmount from Brendan. That's good stuff. Good stuff, guys. Really nice work in the live chat. Last thought on this. Let's get back to the text line here from the 785. Text says that is what will kill this tournament. Things like last night. I hope not. That's all I can say. Like, I don't know for sure any more than you do, but I hope not. I think this tournament has a place, and in particular in the state of Kansas has carved out a kind of a neat niche place in the sporting calendar. And there have been rumors that the Aftershocks were going to break up, which I think would have been a real shame to lose the presence of Wichita for this tournament, because Wichita's been really good for the tournament. But I know that Jordan Henriquez Roberts was on social media after K-State's alumni team lost in that best of 3 to Jayhawks Hoops. To Jordan Henriquez Roberts, who had helped put together that Purple Rain team, already saying, I'm going to do whatever I can to get TBT back to Manhattan next year. Like, guys want to do it. That's just it. Like, you know, putting up $2 million doesn't hurt, matters, but I think guys enjoy doing it. And I hope more younger guys enjoy doing it. I think where the Jayhawks team has really benefited this year is young legs. like it's tough when you're in your mid to late 30s and you've traveled around the globe to play professional basketball, to have the kind of juice in your legs that guys like Zeke Mayo do, or Jacob Hanna for that matter. So I hope it doesn't kill the tournament. But I do think that TBT's got to look at last night and say, okay, obviously we got to staff our facilities better. There should have been more security on site. And we got to do something about, like, especially for some of the higher level games, we got to get better officials. We got to get officials who can take control of the game, because a good officiating, an experienced officiating crew would have taken the temperature down after the first incident there at the end of the first half, and would have been around to make sure that things didn't get too far out of hand following the game-winning shot. Appreciate the thoughts and enjoyed that. We got more to come on 580 Sports Talk. Text line is open, 785-272-9429. You can also interact again in the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, how the Royals could take advantage of being true, undeniable sellers at the trade deadline. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. Couple of final thoughts on the TBT thing last night. First, to answer this question from MPM in the live chat on YouTube, and to answer The question that you might have, if you're wondering, could Lee Arena host any more games for Jayhawks Hoops? Yeah, the championship. If Jayhawks Hoops wins tomorrow night, and they've got to regroup from everything that last night was and get to Lexington, Kentucky, and beat the Kentucky alumni team, La Familia, they're called, on Wednesday night. If Jayhawks Hoops wins that game, then they'll play whoever wins the non-alumni bracket out in Vegas. They'll play that team at Lee Arena on Saturday for all the marbles. And if that is the case, my understanding, and I think that TBT has put this out on social media, tickets would go on sale immediately following Wednesday night's game. So you could buy tickets through, I think, their official channels at least, for a championship game at Lee Arena, a Jayhawks Hoops championship game. But they got to beat the Kentucky alumni Wednesday night. If they do, though, that's where the championship game will be. The one other thing from the 785, a text recalling the end of the Jayhawks Hoop series with Purple Rain, talking about how the Jayhawks were coming after the crowd there too, meaning at Bramlage, but it was mainly Mayo and the coach. I didn't see last night's incident. From what I heard on the radio, the Jayhawks have no guilt. They didn't shove anybody. They didn't go looking for a fight after the game. They celebrated. And you know what? Did they celebrate vigorously? Yes. Did they wave goodbye to the crowd? Absolutely. Do you get to do that when you win? Yep, you do. You do. And you know what you can do as a fan or a losing player? You just leave. You leave. Take that L. Take that L on the way out. That's all you can do. You don't start a fight over it. Like, listen, if somebody had gone headhunting on a KU player, a Jayhawks Hoops player had gone headhunting on an Aftershocks player after the game, I'd be the first one to say it. I would. I hope you would know that. But one guy touched that off last night. It is one guy's fault. It's Marcus Keene. One guy. There's a lot of reasons that the conditions, like I laid out, a lot of reasons the conditions for a fracas, a kerfluffle were created, but there's one guy who set it off. One guy, Marcus Keene. Nobody else is to blame. I don't blame a celebrating team for celebrating. I'm never going to do that. You can either wait for them to be done and shake their hands, or you can go to the locker room. You can leave the arena. It's all you can do. That's what sucks. That's why losing sucks, because you can't do anything about it. Marcus Keene thought the thing to do about it was try to fight Jacob Hanna and break a woman's nose. So, yes, you want to talk about guilt? Marcus Keene. End of list. End of list of people who are guilty. The Royals resume action tonight against the Minnesota Twins. Second stop on a 3-city road trip. Obviously, the Royals well out of contention in the American League. The Twins are not. They're only 3 games back of Chicago after the White Sox lost to the Yankees last night. And the Twins are also just 1 game out of the third wild card, trailing Cleveland for that final wild card spot. They're 53-54. This was the team I was most certain was going to be not very good in the American League Central. And they haven't been good per se. I mean, they're 53-54, but they've been a little bit above average on offense. And between Joe Ryan and tonight's starting pitcher, Taj Bradley, they've gotten some pretty good work at the top of their pitching rotation, too. So, better than I expected, certainly. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Royals. Could they look in the mirror and say, hey, maybe we're not really a contender? We shouldn't go out selling the farm for somebody to pitch or pitch out of the bullpen or play. I don't even know where they're not really good. Not very good at shortstop this year. Go try and find a shortstop on the trade market. That's an opportunity for the Royals to play spoiler. But the trade deadline now less than a week away. It's next Monday. And there's been no movement other than that weird Boston-Washington trade a couple days ago. Alden Gonzalez on ESPN had this note, and I'm quoting here, entering Monday, all but 8 teams were within 4 games of a playoff spot, with many of the others hoping this week provides them the clarity they seek. Next handful of games is really important for everyone, a front office executive said. But even some of the clear sellers seem reluctant to engage in substantive trade talks at this juncture and might use the threat of the deadline to pressure teams into meeting their terms. I think this may be a year where everything is pushed until the 11th hour, a longtime scout said. So that's one point of leverage for the Royals, right? Because they know they're a seller. They're under no illusions that they're a bat and an arm away from sneaking back into the wild card race. It's not happening. The Royals, as it stands, 11 games out in the Central, 9 games out of a wild card spot. It's not a contender. That's a seller. That's a clear seller. So that's one point of leverage. They know the buyers are going to come to them. One way or another, teams that are looking to add are going to knock on their door or call their phone or send a Snapchat. Like, I don't know how JJ Piccolo deals with opposing GM. Probably phone calls. I would imagine. Phone calls, texts, emails, things of that nature. But the other advantage that the Royals have here, so there's going to be a lot of talk about, and it has been already, Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo being potential trade targets, guys that teams would be willing to send prospects the Royals' way to acquire. And there's going to be some apprehension on the Royals' side to trade either of those starting pitchers because they trade those guys. They don't really have a lot of starting pitching for 2027, especially if Stephen Kolek is headed for Tommy John surgery, which at this point is a real possibility. He's got a flexor strain. That's not good. If Kolek's headed for Tommy John, joining Ryan Bergert and Cole Reagans as having had that surgery, it makes the list of potential starting pitchers for 2027 that much more thin and makes it possible that the Royals will decide to hold on to their cards as far as pitchers go. But there also aren't a lot of bats on the market. And the Royals can be aggressive trying to move some bats. Now, they don't have impact guys that they're going to trade, but Michael Massey's had a nice little year at second base. He can play a little left field. He's left-handed. He might be an appealing piece. Lane Thomas might end up being one of the most valuable right-handed bats that gets traded. Plays all 3 outfield positions. Not spectacularly, but can play them. Has 10 home runs, a 727 OPS, and kills lefties. It's a valuable piece. And all of a sudden, maybe even more valuable in a trade environment where teams are afraid to move and there's not much offense available. So not only should Lane Thomas move, but the Royals should shop Starling Marte. If a team is interested in Nick Lofton, let him kick the tires. Be aggressive moving your bats because there just aren't a lot of those available. And you might end up with a piece in Lane Thomas who's more valuable in 5 days than you would have anticipated him being even when you signed him in the offseason as far as being a piece for potential trade return. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports. Come back, wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. But before we do, I want to tell you about my friends at Calhoun's Jewelers here in Topeka. My wedding ring that I wear proudly every day was a purchase at Calhoun's Jewelers. So was my wife's engagement ring and wedding band. And what I always remember about the process was how easy, straightforward, and even fun it was to go and pick out a ring from Calhoun Jewelers' outstanding showroom. Friendly customer service. You never felt under pressure the entire time. Always felt welcomed. Always felt like the choice you made was going to be the right one, and I can tell you it has been. And the best choice of all was going there in the first place. So go see Calhoun's Jewelers, 18th and Gage in Topeka. More 580 Sports Talk after this. .356 on 580 Sports Talk. Couple of more takeaways from the brawl at Koch Arena last night, the TBT. MPM submits, and I don't disagree, I should say, with all of this. I think this is a fair point. MPM says, I don't mind celebrating with your teammates and fans. I do have a problem with taunting the other team and fans. And I do agree, like, that if Jacob Hanna had gotten into Marcus Keene's face and waved goodbye to him, maybe, I don't know, just put a finger in his face, chest bumped him in a taunting manner, then whatever came to him was maybe going to be a little bit deserved. That's not what happened. Waving goodbye to the opposing team, like Dame Lillard did that when he hit that game-winning shot in the playoffs. Who was that against? Is that Oklahoma City? He hit that series ender and then waved goodbye as he was mobbed by his teammates. That's just a thing that guys do. I don't think that's that big a deal, honestly, to wave goodbye to the opposing fans. Hey, your mileage may vary. You may not agree with me on that, but I don't think that's the kind of thing that you got to get all that worked up over. And lastly, the thought here that maybe none of it was worth getting worked up over. Text from the 785. It's an alumni basketball game. A fight at a game like that is like fighting at an adult slow pitch rec league softball game. Which is a funny thought, and there's some truth to that. But also, do you play in any rec leagues where the winner gets $2 million? Because if you do, let me know if you need an extra player. I play a mean right field. I got a good arm. And I hit from the left side. But I am not going to pitch. I've seen too many bad things happen to slow pitch pitchers. Yeah, that's the difference. That is the critical difference. That's people get in their feelings when they think they're going to go win what would have been $200K per player, and that disappears in a puff of smoke. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, we'll have Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain. We'll also get to some of your texts about the Royals at the trade deadline. We'll talk about who's under pressure at Chiefs camp and do what is wrong with you. Coming up on hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk. On this Tuesday, great to be with you. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com. On your mobile device on the MSC radio app. And on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Great to be here. We're with you until 6 o'clock. Game 1 of 3 between the Royals and the Twins at Target Field in Minneapolis is tonight. A 6:40 first pitch is scheduled. And that means a 6 o'clock pregame start from the Royals radio network right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So we got 2 more hours to hang out with you today. We're going to talk a little bit of Chiefs football this hour. Intake day up at Missouri Western State. Everybody checking into the dorms. I really do love, and I'm sure I said something similar to this effect in previous years, but I really do love that the Chiefs are one of the last holdouts as far as being a team that goes off-site and inhabits a small university a ways away from the team's home base for its training camp. I like that Andy Reid remains old school in that way. I appreciate that about Andy and the Chiefs, that training camp is not this cloistered, yeah, we're at the team facility. Yeah, just, creature comforts, or, all the stuff we get all season long. We just get it the same during the training camp. Stay in our own homes. Something to me, maybe it's being a romantic, maybe it's me getting old, but I liked it when all the teams used to go somewhere else. And I don't mean like, the Cowboys go to California because it's a way for them to make more money. I mean, like when the Broncos used to go to University of Northern Colorado in Greeley, and John Elway had to hang out in Greeley for 3 weeks. The locals have stories, by the way. Oh, do they have stories?
Teams go to West Virginia.
Who goes to West Virginia?
The Giants this year are going to West Virginia. The Saints held their training camp. The Greenbrier was this big resort.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've heard of that.
The Saints did it for a while. The 49ers have actually practiced there mid-season. They had a game in New York, I think, or somewhere, and then they had another game the next week, like overseas, like in London or something.
So, shout out to the Bills. I don't know if they've done this for multiple years, but they go up to St. John Fisher in Rochester for their camp. I'm just going to go team by team because this interests me. The Dolphins train at home. The Patriots train at home. The Jets train at home. The Ravens train at home. The Bengals train at home. The Browns train at their campus. The Steelers still go to Latrobe, and then they go out to St. Vincent College. They still do that.
That's a huge, tradition.
Oh, yeah. They've been doing that.
My buddy works for the Steelers, and he loves going.
Probably since I've been alive, they've been doing that. Texans train at their facility. The Colts train at theirs. The Jaguars train at theirs. The Titans train at their facility. Broncos train at their facility. The Raiders train at their facility. The Chargers train. Their facility is called the Bolt.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. It's in El Segundo. I left my wallet there once. Cowboys, as I mentioned, they go to Oxnard, California. The Giants, they're West Virginia, and then also back home in East Rutherford.
2 weeks in White Sulphur Springs.
Eagles trade at home. Commanders train at Commanders Park. Bears train at Hallis Hall.
They used to go to Richmond, Virginia, the capital of the state.
Yeah.
For 10 years because Dan Snyder wanted money from the state in order to do something that he never did. Fun fact.
Right. Bears, Lions, Packers, and Vikings all train at home in the North, and the NFC South all trains at their home training facilities. The Rams train at Loyola Marymount University, which is
technically not at home, but not at their facility, but I would presume they're in hotels at that point.
So that means other than the little resort life that the Giants are going to go live, it's just the Rams, the Bills, the Steelers, and the Chiefs. That's it. And the Cowboys get partial credit. That leave the home base for training camp.
What is Grand Park where the Colts go?
I've actually been over there. It's just their training facility in western suburbs.
Oh, I saw this on TV the other day because they had the National Flag Football thing there.
Oh, did they?
And ESPN had some studio shows there.
Yeah, I don't know when they were building that. I think they were building that when I was in college and had some friends lived out West Indianapolis. And
yeah, so I guess
so I saw it, I think when it was being built.
Next to it, they have a big youth sports complex.
So I love that the Chiefs are in St. Joe again for their training camp. No practice today, no media today. They will practice tomorrow. There'll be some media tomorrow. I think I'd have to double check on this. I have the sheet, so I can double check it. But should hear, I would imagine, from Andy Reid tomorrow. I'm pulling it up. It sounds like yes, Reid will be available post practice, and then of course Mark Donovan will do his annual State of the Chiefs kind of address. Bright and early in the morning tomorrow. You'll hear some of that. You'll hear from Andy Reid. You'll hear some of what Mark Donovan has to say because he speaks for 45 minutes. Well, you'll hear some of what Mark Donovan has to say, and if he says anything interesting, we'll bring that to you tomorrow here on 580 Sports Talk. But we're going to talk a little bit on the eve of the real nitty-gritty start of Chiefs camp, which players are under the most pressure entering camp this year. Also going to have What Is Wrong With You this hour and Jayhawk Weekly this hour. Michael Swain of Fog.net will join us at the bottom of this hour. Fog.net, of course, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. We get Michael's perspective on JHX Hoops and also the Melvin Council lawsuit and also some thoughts a couple weeks ahead of Jayhawk training camp. Starting to heat up. We're getting closer. Every day we're getting closer to, obviously, NFL training camps are open. You get college training camps open. I could taste the leather.
We're getting
I can
close.
smell the leather. I thought I had something
You know,
cooler than
you're
that.
getting
My bad.
close to the season when you see KU Athletics posting a bunch of the stadium renovations that need to be done by the start of the season. Like, they need to get seats into that one side.
Well, it's not going to be all the way complete for the season.
Yeah, but I'm saying the lower bowl of the far side is going to be complete. So they need to get seats in there, which they're starting to.
Getting close. We're getting ever so close. We'll talk to Michael Swain about that. Want to hear from you? 785-272-9429 is the text line number. You can also, of course, interact with us on YouTube if you're watching live on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. And you can hop in there and join the chat. Couple of stray thoughts. We were talking a little bit of Royals trade deadline before we took our hour break, top of the hour break. So a couple of thoughts there. A couple of texts on that I wanted to address real quick. From the 913, Royals need a 1 or a 2 starter. Waka's a 3, Lugo's a 4, Cameron's a 5. Plus they need a left fielder and got Kaggs and Wright can live with Isbell in center. I think Isaac Collins has been pretty much exactly what the Royals expected him to be in left field this year. I think he's, got off to a really slow start offensively, but he's above average, got a 105 OPS plus on the year. If there's been a disappointment for Collins, maybe you would have liked to have seen a bit of a higher batting average and maybe some more defensive value. He was a really good defensive left fielder last year, and I don't think has been quite as prolific defensively this year, depending on which metric you look at. But his offensive production has been acceptable. You'd like a little more power from the corner, but they got bigger problems than Isaac Collins, I think, out there in left field. Unless they want to move him around the diamond, because he played more of a utility role, played some right, played some third, played some second last year with the Brewers. We've seen him pop up at second base this year for precisely 3 games and 2 1/3 innings. Maybe if the Royals trade Michael Massey, maybe we could see Isaac Collins get a spin there at second base. But
I gave you a thought for a trade.
Real quick, though, before you get that to me, I did want to address this part of it, too. We need a 1 or a 2 starter. Those guys don't grow on trees, unfortunately.
They're not going to be available at the trade deadline for you to trade.
Well, not at the
for.
deadline and probably not realistically in the offseason either. And that's not anybody's fault. It's just there aren't many of those guys. And the Royals had one, and his elbow blew up.
Yeah.
And again, nobody's fault. That's just pitching will do that to guys. So I think that, yes, the Royals do need to add at least one starting pitcher who is better than Michael Wacha to front the rotation next year. The more and more we don't see Chris Bubich return to a mound, the more I wonder if the Royals might be able to bring him back on a 1-year kind of a prove-it deal next year, prove he can stay healthy. But, of course, the longer he remains out, the less I'm convinced that he can prove that he can stay healthy, which is a bummer. But he'd be a guy that could upgrade him next year. But no, you're exactly right, Texter, from the 913.
I was 2 things about trading, about this year's trade deadline specifically. I can't remember where I saw it from, but it was a good source yesterday I saw on X that a lot of teams are asking higher than maybe anticipated for players this trade deadline because they don't know about next season. So they think that the value of the rest of this season is going to be of more value than to the potential of not having a season next year. And second thing, I gave you this off the air yesterday, Gavin Cross killing it in AAA. there could be a shot that maybe the Royals trade Lane Thomas and they say, you know what, let's see if Gavin Cross can play at this level, because he's kind of aging out of prospect if he hasn't already. He's 25, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So
beyond where he would have been considered a prospect. I know he's coming off of a hot week. He's also OPSing 729 in the International League. I don't think that's a guy who's exactly beating down the door.
No, but what I was saying was, if you trade Lane Thomas, your season's already over, right? Like, they're not making the playoffs. Might as well call him up, see what he can do, if he can be a major league guy at all.
I don't even think he's on the 40 man, which is a wild thing for a guy who was a first-round pick in 2021. He's not on your 40 man. But no, there will definitely be some guys. Maybe John Rave gets a longer look. But obviously Cameron Meisner got his look, and then they traded him. Cross could be next, but yeah, unfortunately, he did have a great week last week down there at AAA, but been a long time since he was considered a real prospect, which is too bad. Anywho, we'll get to some more Royals later on in the show. Sports headlines. We got What Is Wrong With You coming up. Your text, 785-272-9429, and your YouTube comments, 580 Sports Talk. But I want to talk some Chiefs today, because I think the question of who has the most to prove or who's under the most pressure at Chiefs camp is one that you can answer a lot of different ways, because guys are under pressure for different reasons, and guys are under different kinds of pressure, different levels of pressure, but pressure is pressure when you're going into the start of training camp. More of a ceiling for them than I think that most of the outside pundits, people that don't cover the Chiefs or just cover the league broadly, I think there is more ceiling for those guys than they get credit for. But if they don't get there, the picture for the Chiefs wide receiver room, and by proxy the passing game, looks pretty bleak. So they both need to get there. So a ton of pressure on both of those guys. And for Rice, it's everything. You got to prove that you can walk the straight and narrow. Yeah. They're going to be there every day. That there's not going to be a 3 a.m. phone call that you were, I don't know, drag racing outside of Spratt Stadium or something. The fringe roster skill guys who may not make the 53, Brashard Smith, this is a big camp for him. We were all thinking last year, man, when is this guy going to get an opportunity? He's got speed. He's got, receiver ability at the running back position. When is this guy going to get a chance? When are we going to get to see Brashard Smith? And then towards the end of the year, we saw Brashard Smith. And granted, it was with a third-string quarterback and a bunch of third- and fourth-string offensive linemen, but it wasn't good. It wasn't a really good first impression for Brashard Smith. Is he going to make this team? Is he going to be are they going to carry 4 running backs because he makes it worth it to carry 4 running backs? Or does he make it worth it as a return specialist? Nico Remigio, same question. Is he going to stay on as a return specialist, or can he add something in the passing game? Chiefs, I don't think, believe that he can, but he's going to get a chance to prove it because he's as experienced a guy as they have at wide receiver in training camp. So all the chances in the world for both of those guys. Fringe roster defenders. Felix Anudike-Uzomah. It's a big camp for him. It's unfortunate that this is true, but it's undeniably true. Ethan Downs, who was a practice squad guy last year and maybe had a chance to dent the 53 as a versatile defensive end / linebacker / special teamer this year, tore his ACL on Saturday. So he's done. That makes the path to a roster spot for Felix a little bit clearer, but he's got to earn it.
There's a reason he was reported and had 3 extra days of practice at the rookie part of the camp.
And I'm curious, was that something they asked him to do, or was that something
he asked?
He said, hey, can I get in and get some work in? I suspect it was probably the former, that they said, hey, you missed all the last year. He's still, he's as young as some guys who were just entering the league this year.
Yeah.
So it didn't hurt him. But any leg up that Felix can possibly get, he needs in his pursuit of a 53-man roster spot. Jack Cochran at linebacker, somebody whose roster spot could be up in the air. At defensive back, Kevin Knowles, Chris Rowland Wallace. Those guys are fringy as well, because I do think like a guy like Xavier Wampa, like right now, I think he's on the 53. Given the way he performed even in the pre-orientation period, but also going back to mandatory minicamp, he feels to me like a guy's going to make the team. So that's one fewer spot for a defensive back. Two guys that I think are really interesting beyond, being fringe. Are they going to make the 53 or not? We know these guys are going to be on the 53. But what is their 2026 going to look like? I think it's going to have a lot to do with how training camp goes for them. And there's one player on either side of the ball. On offense is Jalen Moore. He needs to throw the gauntlet down. Whether or not the job is up for grabs, that's a guy who needs to be performing like it is. And like every day, he's got to set the tone. Like every day, he's got to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is a better option than Esapole or than Khalil Benson at right tackle. It's a monster camp for Jalen Moore. And in the best case scenario for the Chiefs, Moore leaves absolutely no doubt and wins his reps and fits like a glove with the other four starters who are entrenched on the Chiefs' offensive line. And by week 1 of the preseason, there's not a doubt as to who's going to start at right tackle. In a worst-case scenario, that's where you start getting the reports like, well, Esapole took a good number of snaps with the first team today. And that's maybe only bad news for Jalen Moore. I don't think it's, wonderful to be in a position where a second-year UDFA might be starting on your offensive line, given all of the draft capital and the money you've spent on that group. But you start hearing more and more about, Pole took a bunch of snaps with the first team. Khalil Benson got some run with the first team today. That's not what you want to hear. You want to hear Jalen Moore is in there with Humphrey and Smith and Suamataia and Simmons, and when those four go off the field, Moore goes off the field. You want to hear that unit is working as a unit. So Jalen Moore's got to throw down the gauntlet. On defense is Jaden Hicks. Jaden Hicks needs to emerge from La Casa de Perro, if you will, the doghouse.
Yeah.
And that's not a place I thought he was going to end up in year 2, but it is very definitely where he ended up. Steve Spagnuolo made no mistake about that. It was a really promising debut for Hicks. He had 3 interceptions as a rookie in 2024. And last year he appeared in all 17 games, but even though he had more tackles than the season before, there just wasn't a lot of impact from Jaden Hicks. And the sense that you got was that he wasn't trusted by Steve Spagnuolo. And as a result, he only ended up playing 43% of the defensive snaps last year. Now, I think the Chiefs are going to be in a spot. I got a feeling Jaden Kennedy's going to win the nickel job. That
gives me a good...
Maybe that's just indigestion, but that's a feeling that I have. And
I would agree with your feeling.
And if it's not him, I think it's going to be a more traditional corner in the nickel role and less of Shamari Connor, who we all saw last year was not out of his depth. I don't think he's a bad football player. He's just not good in coverage. Coverage is not his strength. So when they asked him to play that role last year, he was in over his head a little bit. So Connor helps them as the other safety alongside Alohi Gilman. And if that's your safety group, that leaves Jaden Hicks as kind of your third guy. And we know that Steve Spagnuolo likes to rotate his safeties, likes to get 3 guys in back there. Sometimes he'll play 3 at once if he feels like that gives him a chance to be athletic and make some plays on the ball. And that was Hicks' whole thing as a rookie. He showed an ability that not a lot of guys in this Chiefs secondary have shown, the ability to make a play on the ball and to create a turnover. So it's a skill set the Chiefs could use if they can get him on the field, but he's got to earn getting on the field. And he didn't earn that last year. And this is kind of a make or break year for a guy who was a 4th-round pick, year 3. This is a big year for Jaden Hicks. And I think that the Chiefs would do well with somebody with his skill set to be on the field more often. But you can't get on the field if you're not going to be trusted to carry out the assignment or do what it is that Steve Spagnuolo needs you to do in the scheme. So can he pick up a little bit more Can he earn more trust and more responsibility? I think he's a really interesting guy for this defense if he can. So those are the two guys for me that I think are probably under the most pressure. Anybody I missed or anybody you think is maybe I'm shortchanging here, Spencer?
Under pressure?
And again,
Jared Wiley.
It's an interesting answer to that question. Another third-year guy.
Yeah.
Who has not earned the and some of this obviously lost his rookie year to injury, but another guy who has to earn the trust of the coaching staff and maybe the opportunity to prove this year that he is the successor long-term to Travis Kelce, which the Chiefs still don't have on the roster. Like, all due respect to Noah Gray, he's tight end 2. Like, if you're in a spot where Noah Gray is your tight end number 1, I don't think that's a position you want to be in. So it is I think that's an interesting one. It is a big year for Wiley because they have some guys behind him, Trey Watson, Brenningstool, that they liked in camp last year that could supplant him on the depth chart if he doesn't make a good showing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think I'd put Noah Gray into that too because he did well in 24, got an extension, and then didn't really do anything last year. So, I mean, like, the second and third tight ends are the biggest, but like you mentioned about Kelce, like, they're not having the successor. Like, if your second guy who comes in and is your second leading tight end supposed to be leading, if he can't do anything, then you have real question marks.
And, like, it's fine
if
it's fine if all Gray and Wiley are tight end 2 and tight end 3. They don't need to produce like tight end 1. That's what Travis Kelce's there for. And they don't need to grow into being tight end 1 if that's not something that they're capable of. Well, okay, not everybody gets to be the lead singer. Somebody's got to sing backup. But it is, I think, an interesting year at that position because the Chiefs need more. Like, they do need something from Noah Gray. Given some of the questions that this team has at wide receiver, we could see more 2 tight end sets, and they need both tight ends to be reliable in the passing game. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk, 785-272-9429, the text line, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. We got What Is Wrong With You, and then Michael Swain coming up on 580 WIBW. So what is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk? We've got 2 new stories today competing to try and take down our Monday winner, the Iowa woman. We have the Florida man on the show. Florida man does Florida man things. Yeah, Iowa woman doing Iowa woman things, driving a mower to Casey's and doing so while intoxicated and while not having a driver's license. So she thought, I don't want to break the law here. Under the influence of something and with no license, how about I just take the mower and go get a slice from Casey's?
Casey's is good, but not that good.
Yeah, that's a sentiment shared on our text line from the 785. Casey's is good, but not DUI good. Yeah, well, this woman clearly disagreed. 2 news stories today. I will go first. This is a simple story. We're going to Colorado Springs, where Paul Torres has been reunited with his 3-year-old dog, Blanco, after the dog was stolen from his home on Wednesday afternoon. Well, how was he reunited with his fur baby? Person who stole the dog brought the dog back around 1 a.m. on Sunday morning through the same gate in which Blanco was kidnapped. And the person left behind a letter. And the letter reads, "I'm sorry I did this. I was not in the right state of mind. I was very drunk and don't remember doing much of that day. I was very scared and not knowing how to return him. I've been taking care of him, bought him food, and made sure he had water. I'm very sorry for what I did." The Torres family has thanked the community for all the support. The person who stole the dog has not been identified. Imagine getting so drunk you steal a dog. And you wind up out of your stupor, and here you got a dog.
Ugh.
But what I want to know is, you don't remember much. You're not in the right state of mind. You're so drunk you don't remember stealing a dog. How did you get him back to the right place?
Yeah.
Man, thank goodness he got the dog back to the right house. Yeah. And in one piece. It's a happy ending. We don't get a lot of happy endings on What Is Wrong With You stories. This is a happy ending.
That is very true.
But you get so drunk you steal a dog. That's nuts. All right, what's your story today?
Yeah, we're going to Florida. Dash cam video from the Florida Highway Patrol captured the arrest of a driver who's accused of speeding past 140 miles per hour.
That's fast.
While fleeing on Florida's Turnpike in Miami-Dade County. FHP said the trooper first spotted the black Ford Mustang traveling over 100 miles per hour in the northbound lanes near Bird Road just after 11 p.m. back on July 9th. The driver was identified as 21-year-old Jamal Kamari Law. The pursuit escalated quickly, according to the arrest report. When the trooper moved in behind the Mustang, the driver turned off his headlights and began taking evasive action. He then accelerated past 140 as the trooper tried to stop him. When they started to spook him, he exited the highway to try to escape. Eventually, however, the run ended in a crash. The report said Law ran a red light before hitting a wall on Northeast 41st Street entrance ramp to the northbound Turnpike. The dashcam video shows the trooper reaching the wrecked car, drawing what appears to be his firearm and ordering the driver out. Law got on the ground and was handcuffed. He was taken to the hospital, taken into custody, hospitalized, booked into jail. Records show his driver's license had already been suspended back on April 27th. And the tag on the Mustang was not assigned to his vehicle. According to the report, he was arrested on charges including attempted fleeing and eluding at a high speed, driving with a suspended license, displaying an unassigned tag. And, he's going to go to court for that.
Yeah, I bet. Just a series of cascading bad decisions for Jamal there. And, he probably going to do some time for that. I mean, yeah. I know, tempting to drive a car with that much muscle that fast, but also there's a reason there are posted speed limits. I'm going with the dog theft today, the drunken dog theft.
Yeah.
Just, I stole your dog. Sorry, man. I kept it alive for 3 days. It freaked me out, but here, have your dog back. I'm sorry. I'm glad it had a happy ending. But I'm still going with the operating a mower while under the influence.
Yeah, I'm right there
that's going to be the Iowa woman will remain our winner on What Is Wrong With You. Michael Swain joins us next from Fog.net, 24/7 Sports for Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Great time to be a VIP subscriber with football training camp right around the corner for the Jayhawks and others. Go subscribe to read all of Michael's great work at Fog.net. He joins us now for Jayhawk Weekly. And Michael, got a little spicy at Coke Arena last night, didn't it?
Yeah, what in the world? I mean, twice. It got spicy twice. Yeah, that was something, and definitely I don't think a very good look. I think for anyone associated with maybe the Wichita State side of things, and obviously there's the KU side that was a little involved, in the in-game scuffle. But the one after the game, Bush League, and totally a bad look for TBT and a bad look just for Aftershock generally.
And what's disappointing about it is it really had felt like that Jayhawks Hoops efforts this year were starting to gain a little bit of traction, and that people were kind of excited about what they were doing. And maybe this was the first time that they had gotten people's attention in the way that they had after beating the K-State alumni the week before. And then to have a game end up like that and mar Frank Mason's winning shot and Zeke Mayo's heroics, really, really disappointing from that perspective.
Yeah, well, I remember we were talking last week, right, about the start of it and what maybe the interest level is, and I was a little wishy-washy on it. And then obviously you see how the way those K-State games played out. And I think what probably helped is the fact that the K-State won the first game, right? And then that probably a little bit of a fire under KU seeing them talk the smack that they did. But then you get to the game last night, and obviously – like the brand of basketball in GBT, it's never going to be
not great.
The cleanest or the best, right? It's got a little bit of old man rec gym basketball where you got a couple young guys who still have the burst and then some old guys who, maybe aren't able to get up and down as much as they could have 10, 15 years ago. But still, I think it's been a little fun to watch. I haven't tuned in every second of every game, but the parts of games I've been able to watch, it is cool to see some of the old Kansas guys going out and playing, and obviously Frank's played well, and he's had his big moments. So I think that's been pretty cool to see as well.
The thing that has struck me, too, particularly in the games that against the K-State alumni team that they won late, and even last night's game, is they kind of feel like a Kansas basketball team. They hang around, they withstand some shooting flurries early in a game, and make winning plays down the stretch. Don't get particularly out of off keel, and they feel like guys who were coached by Bill Self, basically.
Yeah, and you look at the guys who are playing, right, and it's a lot of guys that I think you would classify as kind of your Bill Self players for the most part. Obviously, I know there's some Washburn guys who are contributing. It's fun, it's kind of interesting to see Zeke Mayo, right, in this role that maybe is a little bit different than the one he was at KU. It's probably closer to what he was like at South Dakota State, for example. But it's been fun to see him play a little bit better here recently. And like I said, Frank doing what he does and driving to the rim and making tough shots. And so I think it's been cool to see so far. And obviously now it's a matchup with the former Kentucky alumni team. And I've seen some stuff of like Willie Cauley-Stein playing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there we go. That's going to be an interesting matchup. Tomorrow night.
Yes, tomorrow night there in Lexington. And if Jayhawks Hoops wins, the title game's right here in Topeka on Saturday. Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joins us here on 580 Sports Talk. From former Jayhawks to another former Jayhawk who would like to perhaps be a current Jayhawk again. Melvin Council has sought legal counsel. The jokes write themselves, but has filed a suit in Douglas County Court, and he is seeking an extra year of eligibility. First things first, what's the likelihood that counsel comes out of this with the injunction that he's looking for that would allow him to play in 2026-27?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've heard some different things. I had one person close to the program say they really weren't super confident. But then, I started doing the mental math in my head, and he could have just as easily have filed this back in May when his initial appeal waiver request got denied by the NCAA. And he's waited this long. And I just, part of me wonders if it's like he's got a pretty good feeling, or someone on the legal team has a pretty good feeling that they're going to get it granted. Because why go through all this trouble this close to the start of classes beginning, right? We're about a month away from that happening. Why go to all this trouble and have it be out there? And obviously you're paying legal fees too, without having a good inkling that you got a good chance at it. So I think the fact that, right, it's going to be a Douglas County case. You've seen some, stuff happen, whether it be the Sorsby thing and down in Texas, some of the stuff going on in Ohio, right? You've seen some local judges maybe be a little more kind to those who are in the region in terms of like the athletes. So it's one of those where just the math adds up to where it seems like he could get it. Man, it's so hard to say one way or the other. We got to also see timing wise how this plays out. Because obviously, like I said, classes start in the third week of August, I want to say. I don't remember the exact date, but that's around the time when you want this thing done, because that's when players come back, and that's when the real practices kind of begin to get closer and ramp up. So the sooner it's done, the better, but it's so hard to say exactly what the timetable is going to look like.
Let's live in the world where Melvin Council gets the extra year. Kansas has a roster spot. Let's say he gets that roster spot. Hard to imagine him in a different uniform if he does get that temporary injunction. Where does his fit work out with this Kansas team that obviously has a 5-star point guard, Taylor Kinney, that's got to play. They got Leroy Blyden, who's got to play, who's a nice player, but also Melvin Council is a returning starter who was the Big 12 newcomer of the year last year. It's not like you're talking about a guy who's just some contributor. He was a big part and really additive to winning and additive to culture last year. How does Bill Self make that fit if indeed that's a challenge that he faces?
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. I think if you look at the roster, you'd say you're missing a ball handler, right? It really is. It's Kinney, it's Blyden, and then your third ball handler is Tyron Stokes, which is perfectly fine, right? You're just an ankle twist away from having two real guys you feel comfortable having the ball in their hands consistently. So that's where Council helps from the get-go, is just have another guy that can handle the ball and initiate the offense and knows the offense. The issues you're going to run into are that Taylor Kinney's been recruited over the last 12 months under the assumption that he would be the starting point guard. You went out and added Leroy Blyden at some cost with the assumption that he was going to be the two guard. And now all of a sudden you're going to add someone that's going to play 30 minutes a game to that and has a strong personality. And I think the leadership side of things would actually be a positive for this team. Just having another guy that's been around, that knows Bill Self, that knows the coaching staff, knows the expectations. I think that would be a really important part of this that probably won't get talked about enough, is the leadership side. But in terms of basketball fit, you're going to have an uncomfortable conversation. And who's going to be the odd man out? Because someone's got to come off the bench then. And I think probably what it could end up being is Leroy Blyden, because just in terms of, the conversations that have been had, I think it'd be really hard to tell Taylor Kinney, hey, you're going to come off the bench. And even then, I could make a really good argument that starting Council and Blyden together actually makes more sense, and then having Taylor Kinney come off the bench. But again, it's just going to be a really hard sell, and I think attitude-wise, it's going to be a big task for Bill Self because, again, personality-wise, you're adding a big personality. You're going to add a lot. That's all a guy that's going to want to play a lot of minutes. What does that do for your guard rotation? What does that mean for a Cole Rosario? What does that mean for maybe a Dennis Parker Jr. on the wing? So it just creates a lot of question marks, but it's one of those where, Occam's razor, sometimes the simplest explanation is the best one. You're adding a guy who was very productive for you in Big 12 play. You're adding a ball handler that KU needs. And I think from that perspective, right, I think it would be a really big addition.
We're joined by Michael Swain of Fog.net and 24/7 Sports here on the Fleming Place Wine and Sports Hotline. And Michael, you've done some reporting of this on your X account and over on Fog.net, but Coach Cal was did his media availability for Arkansas the other day, and he was talking about scheduling, and he mentioned Kansas as a pre or a exhibition game, but it's not on KU's schedule, and you've done some reporting on this. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I think Coach Cal had a Coach Cal moment where he got on a roll and said something that wasn't confirmed and said it with confidence, and nobody wanted to tell him that he was wrong. If you look at the report from our Arkansas website, like they did a very good job describing the scene where, Cal kind of says this stuff, we're going to play Kansas, and then he looks over to the side and says, like, that's still right, isn't it? And everyone off to the side and like the media relations or assistant coaches kind of just shrugged their shoulders. And so I think everyone kind of just went with it because if a head coach says we're going to do something, typically that's not like factually incorrect. But now from talking to some people, it sounds like that game is not locked in at all. I'd expect KU to announce a third exhibition game before the end of the week. So I think that's definitely coming down the pipeline. They've changed the rules now, right? Last year you were allowed to do, or last couple of years, right, you've been able to kind of do 2 exhibitions. They've changed that now to be 3. And so KU's got Pitt State, they've got Louisville, and then I think they're going to add this third one as kind of I believe timing-wise, it could end up being a final tune-up game. So I think it'll be a big matchup, one that I think Kansas fans will be very happy about, because I think we talked about it before, right, when the schedule came out. It's not like a super sexy season ticket home slate. And so having, Louisville and maybe this other team coming to town would maybe boost things a little bit for people that want to go see some good basketball, even if it doesn't really count for your record.
Speaking of the exhibitions, the exhibition against Pitt State will now be their version of Late Night at the Fog. How do you see this being the way that Late Night at the Fog has changed over the last few years?
Yeah, it's a bummer, but it's one of those things that you look at just cost-saving measures, right? They've gone from having Snoop Dogg and big headline performance, right, that cost a lot of money, to recently, I think last year, right, they did dueling DJs and didn't really have a musical performer. And then this year they're just changing entirely, where it's really just going to be based around the exhibition. There'll still be some traditions. I'll be interested to see kind of skit-wise if some of that stuff sticks or how it looks, but they are trying to find a way, I think, to be very streamlined and cost-effective, and one of those ways is to maybe merge a tradition with something that is cool, which is the fact that Kansas basketball plays, Pitt State, Washburn, Emporia State, right? That's not something that I think a lot of other high-level college teams, blue bloods, are doing. And I think that's a cool gesture to continue to do and to find a way to kind of merge those two things together. I think it's got the chance to still be a really cool night, but it just won't have the same feeling as kind of the late night tradition has had.
One more question for Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. You are rolling out some football content at Fog.net, have an article up about key position battles to track during training camp. Obviously, all eyes are going to be on the quarterback battle, but outside of that one, which position battle do you find to be the most interesting and maybe the most revealing about the shape this Kansas team takes moving into 2026?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there really are so many. You can look at I think my eyes go to the defensive side of the ball, right? Because KU just has to be better defensively. You can't allow as many explosive plays as you did last year. And I think one of the positions last year that really struggled with those explosive plays is safety. Taylor Davis really did have a rough year last year, and he is going to most likely move back to kind of the role that he had in 2024, playing in kind of that free safety, boundary safety, whatever you want to call it. And KU went out and added Jaden Harris from Georgia. Before that, he was with Miami. He started on Miami on a 9-win team in kind of the same position that Taylor Davis plays. So those two are going to be in a position battle. And I think you look at the tape of what both of them have showed. Harris has been described to me as a much better guy in coverage, but he also is a better athlete if you just go look at the game tape. So I think Davis knowing the scheme, right, being in it for 2 years now, I think that's going to help him. But that's a big-time position battle because Kate has to be better at safety. And it'll be interesting to see if Davis can hold on to that starting role or if someone like Harris comes and takes it. Regardless, I think Harris is going to play a lot, and I think he's going to be a contributor for KU. But I think that's going to be a really big position battle because KU has to be better at safety. I think that's one of the key positions where you're looking at a potential jump to happen.
Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, it is always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Awesome. Sounds great. Talk to you guys next week.
And we'll take a timeout, come back to wrap up this 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks again to Michael Swain of Fog.net for joining us for Jayhawk Weekly. We've still got one more hour of sports talk coming your way. We got a full slate of 580 sports talk headlines. The Aftershocks have released a statement following last night's TBT brawl. The Chiefs have made a couple of roster moves and jersey patches, big business coming to college sports, and a couple of big contract extensions in the NFL to talk about. We'll also do a round-to-round question and talk Royals baseball. Again, the Royals and the Twins tonight, game one of their 3-game series at Target Field. 6:40 first pitch, 6 o'clock pregame coverage on the Royals radio network. One thing I do want to do here before we get out for this hour, though, is tell you about my friends at Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon. We got a little rain this morning, and I know that on days it rains, you're not thinking about getting your car washed, but you're going to probably think about it in the days to come when your car starts to show that it's a little dirty because it got rained on. Well, you need to see the people at Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon because there is where you will get the brightest shine in Topeka, the best prices in Topeka, people that care about your car because they live where you live. They are community-minded. They are locally owned and operated. and they will take great care of you with wash packages and detailing packages to meet your specific needs and desires. Soar with the Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon in Fairlawn Plaza in the capital city. Again, we've got headlines. We got random questions. We're going to talk a little Royals baseball. That's all coming up on the final hour of 580 Sports Talk this afternoon here on 580 WIBW. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on the air here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, on your mobile device on the MSC radio app, and on YouTube on our channel 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you. If you're watching on YouTube, you can't see Spencer right now. I'm working on it. Having a little bit of a technical issue trying to get Spencer on the air, but he's there. I promise.
What happened?
Man, what didn't happen? Like, I'm just having a whale of a time. I'm trying to reorient the cameras on the screen, and I can move yours, but I can't move mine. So what we end up with is it's not something that really looks spectacular, if we're being completely honest with you. But Spencer's here, and
only for this segment.
Right, you're here for headlines.
That's why we're different orientation.
Yeah, that's I'm back behind the board here, and Spencer is in the studio. So we'll play with it. We'll make sure when you're talking, you're on screen. I can do that at the very least. But Dan and Spencer here with you. Spencer's got a early departure scheduled for today. Got to pick up your special lady from the airport. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, from the airport.
We shouldn't have even seen me this hour, but apparently the flight. So she's in Nashville, and there's a flight coming from Omaha. That flight is delayed.
Ah.
Well, I think it's in the air now, but it was delayed.
But
I think it's probably there now.
So you're leaving about 30 minutes later than you'd expect? Honestly,
yes.
30-minute delay, not so bad.
Yeah.
You can live with those. What's the most you ever been delayed in an airport? You ever have an overnight?
No, but last year when I was coming back from my vacation, I think we got like a 5 or 6 hour delay.
Man. Yeah, I think we've been delayed. When I was in college, so this is before like airline delays were like something you just kind of priced into your travel day.
Yeah,
like,
it's a normal thing now.
Yeah,
It's anything that doesn't leave the airport before like 10 a.m. most likely going to get delayed.
everything is more expensive and a little bit worse than it used to be. The story of America in the 2000s.
Unless
Anyway.
your plane is there already in the morning, your flight's probably getting delayed.
Yeah.
Like, unless you have the first flight out, the odds of your flight getting delayed are probably high.
Got delayed like 5 hours at Hartsfield in Atlanta once, trying to fly back to Indianapolis. We ended up getting back into Indianapolis. There wasn't anybody at the airport, just the overnight cleaning crew, basically. We ended up getting back so late. But that worked out really good because that was the night of the 2005 NFC Championship game, which you may recall featured the Carolina Panthers and the Seattle Seahawks.
I was going to say.
So, I got
there.
I got to see my favorite team win the NFC Championship for the first time in franchise history. I didn't have to watch it tape delayed at my house. So when I got home that night, so that and when I say tape delay, I mean literally tape. Like a buddy of mine had a VCR. And I had it arranged to tape the game. I think I still have the tape. It's somewhere. But
I was a little bummed though because people know I'm from the East Coast.
yes.
I'm a New York pizza guy, New York style pizza.
Sure.
There's this joint right in KCK. If you went to the Speedway and took the road over the highway or under the highway, it's called Italian Delight.
Okay.
They apparently have really good New York style pizza. Well, they're like a legit like Italian family restaurant. And this just happens to be the week that their family's on vacation. And so they're closed.
Bummer.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed because I was like, oh, they're never open on Sundays, and that's most of the time I'm flying back is a Sunday.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, great. I could stop in there, grab a slice, and then I can get there right after she's gotten her bags. And we're going to be perfect timing. Everything's going to be perfect. And then I looked the other day, and it said that they were closed for vacation.
Bummer.
Big bummer.
That's tough. Anyhow, so we've got headlines this hour here on 580 Sports Talk. Got a full slate of headlines to bring you. Also, going to talk some Royals baseball. Again, we're with you until 6 o'clock. We'll pass the baton right at the top of the hour to the Royals Radio Network for Game 1 of the Royals series in Minnesota against the Twins. Seth Lugo, Taj Bradley, the scheduled starting pitchers tonight. Pre-game coverage at 6, first pitch from Target Field at 6:40. Also this hour, because Spencer is leaving me, instead of Random Question Tuesday today, I'll go ahead and turn it into an Ask Me Anything. So if you've got questions for me, I will answer your questions about, well, anything. That's what the second A in AMA stands for. Ask me anything. So ask me a question in the YouTube chat or on the text line, 785-272-9429. I will be happy to answer your questions in lieu of a Random Question Tuesday. That's kind of how it works. Like if it's Random Question Tuesday and it's only one of us around, then we take random questions from the audience. We have a little fun with it. So that's what we'll do.
Or it's a random Friday.
Or it's a random Friday when we're just, killing time and the Royals are $1 billion out of first place.
Yeah.
Again, your questions, 785-272-9429 or in the live chat on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. I will be happy to answer them later on this hour. But let's begin. Man, let's do this. We were asking about travel stories. I guess that can be a random question today for the audience. How long were you delayed? Text from the 913 says, Houston was underwater. I spent 3 days in an airport sleeping on a concrete floor. I was 19, too young for a hotel, by myself. They gave me a plain pillow and a plain blanket, and this was before smartphones. That would have put me off of air travel for life.
Yeah.
For life. Although I guess it's not so much the airline's fault if it was just you couldn't get to where you were trying to go. That's one of those that is a charge it to the game situation. But no, that doesn't sound like any fun at all. And the texter confirms from the 913 says it sucked. I bet it did. If you've got a terrible travel story, share it in the comments. We'll get to it in AMA. 785-272-9429 on the text line or 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. All right, let's get to headlines. Let's start with the fallout from last night's brawl at the TBT in Wichita between the Aftershocks and JHX Hoops. JHX Hoops won the game, for the record. Frank Mason, logo 3, JHX Hoops wins the game. So they are moving on. They will play the Kentucky alumni team, La Familia, tomorrow night in Lexington. If they win that game, the championship game for the TBT would be played at Lee Arena. Lee Arena would host the championship game if Jayhawks Hoops makes it. And tickets for that would go on sale following Wednesday night's game. Well, gosh, I'm looking at the bracket, and it's actually not telling me when the championship game is.
Championship Sunday at noon.
Sunday at noon. There it is. Sunday at noon, 1 o'clock Eastern. So, the bracket doesn't say, but the schedule at the top of the page, which was slower to load, says.
Yes.
So, anyway, Sunday afternoon would be the championship game, and if Jayhawks Hoops makes it, it would be at Lee Arena in Topeka, which would be pretty freaking cool. And also an outstanding 2.5-hour television commercial for Washburn University and Washburn Athletics. You can't buy that kind of publicity. So anyhow, something to root for.
And we remember, somebody's undefeated.
Yeah, Jacob Hanna's never lost.
Yeah.
Jacob Hanna's never lost. Jacob Hanna will be in action. There will be no disciplinary measures handed down for any Jayhawks Hoops players. The understanding is that the TBT has ruled they will all be eligible to play. There will be no suspensions or bannings from last night's incident at Koch Arena, at least as it pertains to Jayhawks Hoops and their immediate participation in the rest of the tournament. The Aftershocks have released a statement as a going concern that reads, quote, "On behalf of the Aftershocks, we are deeply regretful for the incident that occurred following last night's game. Since we launched the Aftershocks in 2019, we've taken great pride in the way we represent our community through a high standard of professionalism, sportsmanship, and respect for everyone involved. The events that followed last night's game did not reflect that standard. We sincerely apologize to our fans, TBT, and the Jayhawks Hoops organization. We'd like to thank our fans for their continued support and are eager to move forward in a manner that reflects the values of the Aftershocks organization." Well, not asking Marcus Keene back would be a good place to start, but we'll see if there is a move forward for the Aftershocks. Taylor Eldridge in the Wichita Eagle today wrote that there had been some discussion prior to this tournament for this being the last hurrah for the Aftershocks, who've been, as that statement mentions, a consistent part of the TBT since 2019 and, of course, the 2025 champions of the event. I would hate to see a team that has been such a big part of that event and a big help in growing the stature of the event and the excitement for the event. I would hate to see that organization, that team, go out like that.
Yeah.
So, again, nothing you can do if there's nobody to pick up the torch. If Connor Frankamp's done doing it and Marcus McDuffie's done doing it and there's nobody else to pick up the torch, then not much you can do. But hopefully that's not the end of the Aftershocks for a lot of reasons. I think the TBT folks are going to be hopeful that organization sticks around.
I will say, having the person that caused a lot of this not be an alum from the school really is helpful in this situation.
Yeah.
Because you cannot ask him back the next year and it doesn't, fracture anything, right? Like, if it was just like a one-time thing, got under his skin, but man, if he was an alum from Wichita State, that would suck. So, in one way, him not being an alum is a good thing. Also, I don't know if you want to touch on this, but there's some reporting by a sports reporter.
Yeah, I did mention this already that at the top of the hour, but there is some reporting that both Jacob Hanna and the Jayhawks Hoops staffer who was injured, broke her nose in the
allegedly
altercation.
right in front of her daughter, too.
Oh, that's terrible. That both Hanna and that staffer are considering pressing charges against Marcus Keene for his actions that touched off that brawl last night. So that's where that is. That's where the latest from that story. I believe Wichita State University also released a statement where they basically said, "Hey, look, man, we didn't staff that thing. Don't blame us. We hosted it, but we did not staff it. You have questions about security and police presence? You talk to the TBT folks about that one." That's not the official statement, but that's the gist of the statement that Wichita State Athletics made, which I kind of had a feeling was the case, that it did not feel as though it was staffed like a regular season American Conference basketball game would have been. Anyhow. Next headline, Spencer. Let's get some injury news from Chiefs camp.
Well, we got a text from somebody, and the way it was reading, I knew exactly who it was from, and I double-checked, and it's our friend Trent Craxton.
Known great guy Marcus Keene has played for 15 different pro teams since 2017 and 3 different TBT teams. He will be back. Hey, he's the MVP of the event. Just because one team doesn't want him to taint their reputation anymore doesn't mean that there might not be another team that thinks he can get him closer to the $2 million.
Yeah, I saw the text and I read it, and I'm like, that's got to be our guy, and I double-checked.
It's a lot of different countries. Marcus Keene has done some globe trotting.
Yes, I mean, a lot of basketball players have, though.
Yes, but 15 teams in less than 10 years is a lot.
Yeah,
like that's a lot. That's the resume of a guy that doesn't get asked back a lot. So
yeah,
make of that what you will. All right, give us the Chiefs headline, please.
Yeah, it was reported this morning, believed by our friend of the show, our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, that Chiefs defensive end linebacker is how they list it, Ethan Downs out of Oklahoma, who played with R. Mason Thomas in college. I believe this is his second year in the league. He tore his ACL in the beginning of the first 3 days of the rookie camp, and he will miss the entirety of the season. He's been placed on the reserved injured list, and it will not count against the 90-man limit. They've also placed John Michael, is it Gillenberg?
It is, I believe it is Gillenborg.
Gillenborg on that as well, the tight end from Wyoming, but most actually notably from Rockhurst High School, the alum there from the KC metro area. He is being placed on the injured reserve as well, and not count against the 90-man roster. If I remember correctly, he was on the PUP list.
Yeah, they had him on the PUP to start camp, and then today just decided to go ahead and put him on IR. Now, the listed injury is a sprained knee. And if that doesn't sound to you like something that would keep somebody off the gridiron from late July all the way through December, you're not wrong. But this is how teams often will stash a player that they like.
And they want to see what he can do.
They want to get a full look at. And it's a path often to the practice squad for next season. One of the more notable guys the Chiefs did this with, Byron Pringle. Byron Pringle out of Kansas State is an undrafted guy, basically got a redshirt year with the Chiefs because he tweaked a hamstring in the final preseason game. And the Chiefs are like, all right, yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll put you on IR. So you're a part of the organization, but you don't count against the roster limits. But nobody else can sign you, so you get to rehab with us, and then next year we'll keep you around, and you'll get a jump with us and see if you can make the 53. And, of course, Pringle did and enjoyed a couple of good years in Kansas City.
And
so, they did this also with Brenningstool last year, Jake Brenningstool, the tight end out of Clemson, who was also a UDFA. So, clearly there's a strategy at play here for the Chiefs with this.
And I was going to say that with Jake Brenningstool, I know when I went to games and covered them last year, like, he was there. He was with the tight end group when the tight end room would, all the guys were there, when they would walk down he'd be on the sideline during games. So, this was later into the season. So, that's what they want to do. Yeah. They want to get him in the tight end rooms and see what they can do the next season. So, that's a guy to keep look out for this training camp.
Most definitely. Next headline, big money for jersey patches in college sports. This was inevitable, right?
Yeah.
This was always inevitable. For the first time when I realized that all European soccer uniforms were just advertisements, I have been bracing myself for the inevitability that every major American sport would have jersey patches, and they all do, except for NFL teams don't yet, but that's coming. It's a revenue stream, so it's coming. And it is now coming to college athletics. We know that. Kansas has a deal with Ripple, I believe is the name of the company, whose logo they'll be wearing on their jerseys moving forward. And I don't remember the specifics of the money there, but suffice it to say it's a little shy of what companies are going to be paying Ohio State and Notre Dame to put their patch on their jerseys. Ohio State is entering a new corporate partnership with J.P. Morgan Chase. It will put jersey patches on all 36 of the team uniforms in the athletic department of Ohio State and will yield nearly $17 million a year for the athletic department. I mean, that's the kind of money that floats your Olympic sports, your non-revenue sports. That deal alone will float a lot of that at Ohio State. And so the Chase logo, Chase Bank, if you've seen it, you know the logo, that will adorn all of Ohio State's uniforms. And that was a record for the biggest corporate deal in college sports, biggest jersey patch deal in college sports for all of half a day. And then in came Notre Dame. Notre Dame will sport the SoFi logo, as in SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. The SoFi Technologies logo will adorn the Fighting Irish's jerseys in all of their sports for 6 years. And the deal is worth about $18 to $20 million per year. Again, not bad if you can get it, because it really does. That will float golf, soccer, track, sport, gymnastics, sports like that at big athletic departments. You float that on 18 to 20 million a year. Now, is every school have that kind of brand that they're going to get 18 to 20 million a year for a jersey patch? No, obviously. Ohio State and Notre Dame are outliers in that regard. There are a couple other schools that could demand that kind of money. I think Michigan, USC, like there are other big brands, certainly any SEC school with the attention that they get. But it does make me wonder, Kansas State, in need of some athletic revenue, what kind of money could they demand for a jersey patch on the uniforms of their sports? I'm wondering, could they get 2, 3, 4 million a year? Did you ever see what the amount was for Ripple with KU? Did they ever release that number?
Not an official number. I think there was rumblings. I saw our pal, our former co-host Brendan Dorzinski, engaging on this on X, and there's no official number that came out. So.
Yeah, I haven't seen the number on that. Houston has or is seeking a jersey patch deal, and that was reported to be in the neighborhood of $1.5 to $2.5 million for per sport. So if they got one for football, it'd be 1.5, 2.5 million. So something in that range. Look, you're looking for revenue streams. I like that better than PE, private equity, that's for sure. Last headline, Spencer, a couple of big contract extensions in the NFL today.
Yes, so the Eagles and defensive tackle Jalen Carter agree to a 4-year, $152 million contract extension worth up to $160 million. The two-time Pro Bowler will get the extension after having the team pick up his 5th-year option for 2027. With the extension, he will now be under contract through the 2031 season. That, according to his agent Drew Rosenhaus and Jason Rosenhaus, telling Adam Schefter, the deal includes $106 million guaranteed. It is the richest for a defensive tackle in NFL history in both guaranteed money and average annual value, $38 million. He has been selected to each of the past 2 Pro Bowlers. He's got Pro Bowls, whatever that means anymore. But he's got 13.5 sacks in his career, 37 quarterback hits, and 108 tackles in his first 3 seasons.
Unreal talent-wise, certainly worth the money. Like, it's also the guy who's been in a couple off-field incidents.
Yeah. To me, this also says I know it might not kick in, but I don't think that they would do this. Vita Vea said he wanted a trade from the Bucs yesterday.
Yeah.
That was after headlines. I don't think the Eagles are going to go. I don't think they could, right?
No,
because he wants a contract extension. And
he wants big bucks.
I don't think you can do that I don't think you can do those two things together. So that as a team that trades for guys, like if yesterday I thought the Eagles were a team that could potentially do something like that, but they obviously doesn't look like they will. Also, Browns and 5-time Pro Bowl cornerback Denzel Ward have reached an agreement on a 2-year, $62.2 million deal that includes $52.3 million guaranteed and makes him the highest paid DB in NFL history for the second time in his career.
fascinating that that's happened to him twice. That's a fun little fact. Probably really fun. Probably really fun to him and his financial advisors. That'll do it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Spencer, safe travels, my friend.
Yes.
We will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow,
will see
guys.
the rest of you after this timeout. Give me your Ask Me Anything questions. We're going to do Random Question Tuesday. I am going to answer your questions about whatever you would like to ask me. 785-272-9429. You can also leave them in the comments on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. That's coming up, plus Royals, before we wrap things up at 6 o'clock today here on WIBW. .531 on 580 Sports Talk. Got about a half hour left to hang out today. Dan Lucero solo with you the rest of the way on this Tuesday afternoon. And throwing open the floor on what would normally be a Random Question Tuesday, because it's just me. I need random questions, and I need them from you, the listeners. Does it sound like I'm asking you to do my job for me? Yeah, maybe a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of that. But I would prefer that you think of it as participating in the show. So send me your questions, 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429. I will do my best to answer them in the order in which they were received. Start with a sports question. I'll take sports questions. I'll take non-sports questions. But I'll start with a sports question from Christopher in the live chat on YouTube. What are the odds that the Elam ending finds its way into regular college basketball? Would TV networks allow for games to be shortened like that? Well, so the thing about the Elam ending, it comes into play after when there are 4 minutes left. First whistle after the game reaches 4 minutes left to play. And in a 40-minute college basketball game, as we've come to know it, that's the last of the timeouts, right? In the second half, you have the under 16, the under 12, the under 8, and the under 4. So you can have the under 4 timeout and then go to the Elam ending, and you're not losing any commercial revenue, let's say. So the structure of the way that the game is broadcast would not be threatened in any real way. I honestly believe that the television money question, that's the only reason men's college basketball hasn't gone to quarters yet. That's maybe another topic for another day, but I've made my stance on this one pretty clear. I think men's college basketball should adopt 4 10-minute quarters like the women's game does. I think it feels more like a basketball game. It's the only sport, it's the only version of the sport that's still playing halves is men's college basketball. Everybody else playing quarters. And I think it's TV money that's restricting that, and I think that's bad. And I think we need to have a little bit more common sense there. I'd like to see the men's game go to quarters. I think it flows better. Anyway, as to the Elam ending, though, I do not think we're going to see that in college basketball, professional basketball, because at the end of the day, I do think it feels too gimmicky. Like, there are things to like about it. I do like every game ends on a made basket. You don't have the slow, inevitable, drawn-out conclusions of games that are already decided. The parade to the foul line in the final seconds. But also, the parade to the foul line in the final seconds creates some pressure-packed moments, and you got to deliver. Like, you've got to make those foul shots to win the game. They're not guaranteed. They're not automatic. Some guys make it look that way, but they're not. So I do not see like a long-term future for the Elam ending outside of the TBT or other like exhibition, maybe like lower leagues, maybe the G League could give it a run. But I don't think we're ever going to see it. Like high school, college, pros, I don't think we'll ever see it. I've been wrong before. It would not be a first, but I do not think that we are going to see it. Let's go back to the text line. Some good ones here from the 785. Will 580 Sports Talk be on the road to the KU football game in London? I have been personally invited by Union Jack Classic CEO Brian Dubisky when I spoke with him at Big 12 Football Media Days earlier this month. I was personally invited, and I told him, hey, maybe that will help me convince the bosses I need to get on that plane and get on over to London for that game. So it's not a no. It's not a no yet. Tough to justify it the first month of like real school going full throttle for my wife to say, yeah, I'm gonna go to London for a few days to watch a football game. That'd be tough. Tough conversation to have at the homestead, but I'd love to. I've never been to London. It's certainly a place I would love to visit, and it would be a very cool way to get to go see it and experience Wembley Stadium. But put that under TBD for now. Couple of Royals questions from the 785. Will Salvador Perez be a Royal next year? That's a great question. And I don't know that I can answer that with a lot of confidence. I think a lot depends on what it looks like for Salvi these final 2 months. Like if he still looks like there is something that he can contribute to the team beyond just being a totem and the captain and an overqualified backup catcher, like if there's still something in his bat, even if it's just against lefties here and there, then I think the Royals would bring him back. But if there isn't, then you got to think real hard about allocating those resources elsewhere. If you're going to have limited resources as a small market team, even if he is your captain, even if he is your home run leader, can you justify 1 year, $8 million, 1 year, $10 million on a backup catcher who's going to be below replacement level as a contributor? That's hard, especially when you're going to need to give him at bats, but those at bats need to go to Carter Jensen behind the plate, and they need to go to Vinny at first. So it's like, do you just say, okay, you're the full-time DH, you'll catch twice a week, you'll start against every lefty, maybe give Vinny a day at first base here and there, if that's something he's willing to do and something that he's capable of? Like, I don't think that you can go into next year with a guy that you look at and say, yeah, he's going to be sub-replacement level. He's not going to help us, but he's beloved, and we want him to finish his career here. You can't be nostalgic about it if the intent is to win, unless he can help you win. And if I felt real firmly that the answer to that question was yes, I would say yes, unequivocally, Salvador Perez will be a Royal next year. I wish I could say that unequivocally, but right now I can't. A lot's going to depend on how he finishes this season. Similar question from the 785. If the Royals don't show vast improvement next season, will they clean house? They've got a core of position players locked up through 2030, right? Jack Caglione, Carter Jensen are still in their arbitration years through 2030. Bobby Witt Jr.'s opt-out is in 2030. Michael Garcia is under contract through 2030. I think you're still going to try and win with those guys. I have a broader theory, and I really need to flesh it out more than maybe this segment allows me to, but it feels like the Royals kind of did everything in reverse in this build, in this rebuild, and it ended up being really detrimental to them. Like if they had done 2024 through 2026 in reverse, like if they'd gone from 56 and 106 to what they are this year, to 82 and 80, to this year being the team that breaks that playoff drought, you'd feel like, okay, they're ascending, and the farm system, while still lagging behind, is starting to add some more interesting guys. You feel like things are starting to build. It doesn't feel that way. They did it in reverse. And because they did it in reverse, there was the opportunity cost that they didn't have the opportunity to add to that farm system in 2024 because they weren't selling. They were buying. Same as in 2025. And now here they are, and some of the more interesting pieces that they could have sold. Like, gosh, imagine if they had not been in contention, but Seth Lugo had that kind of season in 2024. Imagine what they could have gotten for him at the trade deadline in 2024. Imagine what they could have gotten for Chris Bubich at the deadline last year, instead of, hanging on to hope that, we got to get back to the playoffs. So, again, I need more time to flesh that idea out, but it feels like they did things in reverse, and that's been really detrimental for them. But clean house, it depends on what your definition of that is. Like, would they have new front office and dugout leadership at that point? Absolutely. Would they trade Witt and Caglione and Garcia and Jensen? No. I think they're still going to look to build around those guys and build winners around those guys. Tough as that may be. Some other questions on the YouTube live chat. See, Vance always has some good ones. Grapes, strawberries, blueberries, or cherries? If you're my son, the answer is yes. Anybody who's ever had a 2-year-old or a toddler ever knows there's a berry phase. And my son's into apples right now, though. Kind of off berries a little bit. We haven't been really buying berries. If you've been watching the news, berries and lettuce, not buying a lot of those things lately. Just, abundance of caution. For me, though, I will say, I'll even rank them for you. Grapes, number 1. Strawberries, number 2. Blueberries, number 3. Cherries, number 4. But I like them all. I like them all very much. No losers there. That'd be a tough one got to go. Maybe there'll be one got to go tomorrow. We might run that one back. Vance also asked, favorite adult beverage. I am much more of I enjoy beer more than I enjoy like a hard liquor or a seltzer or anything of that nature. I usually just stick to beer if I'm having an alcoholic beverage. I drink much, much less than I used to. You come to find, once you get married and you have kids, you think back, man, I'd go like on a Friday after work, I'd go buy like a 12-pack of beer and I'd probably have it all finished by the end of the weekend. And I come to find out, like, I didn't really enjoy that as much as I was just bored and it was something to do. That sounds really bad, but it's true. I was bored. That's why I was drinking all that beer. I was bored. It was something to do, something to while away the hours doing nothing by myself. And then I got married and have kids, and I hardly drink at all anymore at the house. I might have one if I go out with the family, but yeah, I drink a lot less than I used to. In a possibly related development, I weigh less than I used to. So it's been good all the way around. But I do. I like to try craft beers, like especially, we're coming up on the fall. Eventually it'll be fall, and it'll be porter and stout season, and I'm excited about that. See if we got any more questions. Mark B asked what Asher's favorite television show is now. Have y'all heard of Helper Cars? It's on YouTube. Helper Cars. Asher likes Helper Cars right now. It's sort of this bleak dystopian universe where there are no humans. There are only cars. And for some reason, a dog and a cat. And I think horses too. And the Helper Cars help out. Like there are these like little race cars. They're like, they just do whatever they want and they get in situations, and the Helper Cars got to help them out of their jam. They got to fix the cars. They help set up play areas for the cars. They build a house for the dog. Because they're helper cars, see? It's computer animation, definitely not from this country. My son likes it very much. That's his favorite thing right now. Try to get him off YouTube. We got him on YouTube Kids, so we get to really control what he sees there on YouTube, which is good. But trying to get him off of YouTube and watch some like other shows. Like he still likes Blue's Clues. He'll still do Sesame Street. Some of the stuff on Netflix. There's a little anything cars though. The Trash Truck, Go Corey Carson, anything cars and trucks right now. My son is all the way in on. Mark H asks what my favorite toy was as a child. It's a fun question given where my son is as a 2-year-old, watching him play with all his cars and trucks. Favorite toy? Man, that's tough. Like I really did a lot of playing out. I was such a sporty kid. Like what I remember is playing in the backyard with my baseball glove and my Nerf bat. Like those I think were probably really my favorite toys. But as far as like something to run around with on the carpet or whatever, I used to collect the NASCAR die casts. I collected those and ran them around the floor. Back in the 90s when the cars looked cool and they had cool sponsors like Tide, Miller, and Havoline, Valvoline, those old school 90 Cornflakes. Remember that Cornflakes car? That went so crazy. The neon interstate batteries. You guys who are NASCAR fans, I know we got more NASCAR fans listening. I can't claim that I'm a big fan, but like you remember those cars, right? In the 90s, those were cool as hell. The car, I turn on a NASCAR race every now and again. I look at the cars they're running now. No aura. Those cars have no aura. Nobody's going to be buying like streetwear versions of those jackets in like 20 years. But like the Cornflakes jacket, the M&Ms, the interstate batteries, those will go triple platinum in the streets forever. Forever. Let's see if we've got any more. Oh, here's one from the 785. Has your wife got her classroom set up yet? She's getting close. Next week. They're back next week. I feel bad. I know my wife. I mean, my wife loves her job. She teaches first grade, for those who don't know. And she does. She loves it. It was something she always wanted to do. Her parents are both educators, but also it's really hard to transition from the end of summer to the start of the school year. So this is always the time of year I feel my heart goes out to my wife and every teacher staring down the barrel of the end of summer because y'all don't get enough summer. If we're being honest, y'all do not get enough summer. Summer should be longer because I don't just mean teachers, y'all don't get enough summer. Kids, y'all don't get enough summer. Parents with your kids, you don't get enough summer. Summer should be longer. It feels like it used to be. Maybe that's anecdotal. Maybe anecdotal. But it just feels like we didn't go to school so early. And we got out earlier. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering. I am getting up there in years. Great point for the 913. Also known as, have you gotten her classroom set up? Have you gotten her classroom set up? You know, that used to be, I was a big part of that process, helping my wife get everything set up. But somebody's got to stay home with the kiddo now, right? So she has gone in and done that while the kiddo's been at daycare, or I've stayed at home to look after him for a couple hours. So I am not as involved with the putting the classroom together as I was when I first met my wife and we were childless. So, last question from Andrew in the live chat. Where will Nikola Jokic end up? Other than a horse racing track? He is going to be a Denver Nugget for life. I will not entertain any answers that are not that. La, 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 I can't hear you. Don't talk to me about salary caps. He's going to be a Nugget for life. Don't put any other evil on me. We'll talk some baseball. Royals and Twins coming up tonight. Thanks for the great questions. Appreciate you guys here on 580 Sports Talk. Two more quick answers to some AMAs I missed while I was scrolling on the live chat on 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. West John asks, when will the money dry up in sports? And my answer to that question for you, West John, is when we stop watching. And I don't think that's happening anytime soon. God, I hope not. my what I do for a living depends on us not stopping watching anytime soon. We keep watching, man. We keep coming back. We're the consumer. And for all of the distasteful things that happen, for all of the distasteful people who often involve themselves in it, they're humans at the end of the day. Sports still provide an entertainment that you just can't get anywhere else. So as long as we keep watching, the money's not going to dry up. It may hit a plateau at some point, but I don't think the money's ever drying up. I hope not, because I like this job and I want to keep doing it for a while. Jeffrey asked about the Hot Wing Challenge. So that's what we're doing for the 1,000 YouTube subscribers. Spencer and I are going to do a Hot Wing Challenge. Details are still in the works. What we kind of envision is, because we want to do it within one segment, and we also don't want to put ourselves in like physical harm, or danger of not being able to finish the show. So we'll probably end up just doing like 3 or 4 wings, and it'll just be like eat the hottest wing. It's not going to be a race. It's not going to be a contest. See how many wings. It's just going to be eat the hottest wing. Hottest wing you can handle, and how do you handle it? So that's what we're looking at for that. But thank you again for the question. Oh, here's another one from Deb asking me, when I worked in Southwest Nebraska, did I ever cross paths with Rich at KICX? You know what, Deb? Hang out in the YouTube chat. I think they did. Hang out in the YouTube chat till we go to break next, and I'll go back and forth with you in the YouTube chat on that. But, yeah, KICX was in McCook, if I remember right. Down there, High Plains Radio, and I worked for Eagle up in North Platte, Nebraska. So surely, if he had anything to do with sports broadcasting, surely I ran into him a time or two because, well, did a lot of sports, and North Platte played McCook and everything. So yeah, I probably did. But Deb, welcome to the chat. Appreciate you being in there. Royals baseball tonight, coming up pregame in about 8 minutes. Royals and Twins tonight. Royals made a roster move today. Beck Way to the injured list with a back injury. That's a plague this year on the Royals. We got to look into where the Royals are staying, like the team hotels. Like, are they cheaping out? Is John Sherman putting these guys up in the Econo Lodge or the Roach Motel, and they're not getting the caliber of bed that they need as big league players? A lot of back injuries this year. It's not good. Beckway to the IL. Easton McGee has been promoted from AAA. They just acquired him from the Brewers a couple of weeks ago. He'll be making his Royals debut when he does get on the mound for the Royals. Also this from John Heyman, since somebody asked about Salvador Perez's future with the Royals. John Heyman, baseball scribe, had this on X earlier this afternoon. Salvi Perez, future Hall of Famer and legacy player, doesn't want to leave the Royals and has veto power over trades. About half a dozen teams seek a catcher, but they can probably look elsewhere. So, don't think Sal's going anywhere at the trade deadline. Seth Lugo and Taj Bradley, the pitching matchup tonight. Bradley's had a good year for Minnesota. The lineup to face him for the Royals tonight: Carter Jensen catching, Lane Thomas in center, Jack Caglione in right, Salvi DHing and hitting cleanup, Vinny Pasquantino at first, Nick Lofton at third, Michael Massey at second, Isaac Collins in left, Josh Rojas is the shortstop. For the Twins tonight, Trevor Larnach in left field, Byron Buxton in center, Ryan Jeffers behind the plate, Royal killer Cody Clemens at second base batting cleanup, Josh Bell's the DH, Victor Caratini at first, Luke Keeschel in right field, Brooks Lee at third, Ryan Kreidler at short, facing Seth Lugo, looking for his 5th win of the season. We'll take a timeout, come back, wrap things up with the final word here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's put a bow on things today here on 580 Sports Talk with the final word. Training camp really gets rolling tomorrow. There are signs that the football season is right around the corner, certain rites of passage that you have to get to that are signposts for the approaching football season. One of those is Mark Donovan's press conference. Mark Donovan's going to talk. He's going to talk for a long time to the media tomorrow at 8 a.m. sharp out there in St. Joe. And while it is not always the most enervating of press conferences, you always get, some interesting notes about the operation of the Chiefs franchise from Mark Donovan. But it's another mile marker on the road to the start of the 2026 season. But by the way, we're 48 days away from kickoff. I guess we forgot our Chiefs countdown to kickoff today, didn't we? 48 days away. Cole Christensen's number 48. 5 seasons with the Chiefs. I don't have a lot else to say about Cole Christensen, and I don't know that he's going to make the 53, but he's a guy that is, again, on the fringes of the roster. But we're getting closer. We got a real practice to talk about tomorrow. Everybody's going to be in camp, and be here before you know it. Football. Be here before you know it. We're back tomorrow from 3 until 6. The Royals are next. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This was 580 Sports Talk. Good night.